In this episode, I'm going to be featuring Bruce Lee collector and historian John Negron, and it's coming right up. Hey guys, Charles Damiano back from the Bruce Lee collection for another exciting episode. And in this episode, I have a really good friend of mine, John Negron out of North Carolina. Quick backstory, I visited my brother-in-law here with my wife. I took an 11-hour drive to get here last night to North Carolina. When I knew that John was 10 minutes from where I was, I called him up and I said, John, man, we have to get together. I never met you in person. I know John for many, many years now. He's a huge Bruce Lee collector and historian. And when I first got to his house today, we probably spent the first 2 hours just showing me the Bruce Lee rooms that he set up. He just got this nice, beautiful house here in North Carolina, and he set up 2 beautiful rooms, which we'll take you through a little later on in the episode. But to begin, I thought we'd get a chance to meet John Negron, get to know him a little bit, and I always loved starting out with a bio of John. So John, first of all, I want to thank you for welcoming me into your home. I really love your place here. I was fascinated with the collection you have from what you showed me so far. I know we spent the first 2 hours doing this, but I know the fans will probably love to get a chance to meet you and know you and how you got started. And I feel like we've been brothers in another lifetime because, you know, I'm the same age as you, and we started back in 1973 collecting, and we've been doing this till now, over 45 years. So why don't you tell us how you got started, maybe a little bit about you, what age were you when you started, where did you first started picking up some of this, where did you live? So why don't we start with those few questions?
Okay, well, Charles, again, thank you for featuring me on your channel.
You're very welcome, man. A pleasure to have you here.
It's a great channel. I love it. And I watch it every week, and it's like the highlight of my Fridays.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And when I don't get on Fridays, then first thing Saturday morning, I'm on there.
Yeah, I know. You always commenting, and I really do appreciate it.
In this area, in North Carolina, there's not a whole lot of collectors that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
So to have somebody come in that's a Bruce Lee fanatic like me, and you saw the excitement of us going through everything, we could spend hours going through stuff, and I would love that.
I think we could spend weeks and we wouldn't get through your stuff. It's so big.
I love it. I mean, I engross myself right here.
Yeah.
Get away from the daily grind every day.
I hear you, man.
Well, to go a little bit deeper, my first fascination with Bruce was on the Green Hornet.
Okay.
There are many legendary figures of evil in the Orient. Some people say they are often driven back to action by their own malevolence.
He is back! The legendary Bruce Lee as Kato, the Green Hornet's trusted sidekick. Masked menace of the martial arts. If you're looking for action, he's the one to find it. Bruce Lee is Kato in The Green Hornet.
I was about 6 years old. Not that I knew who Bruce Lee was, I just saw this guy flying around, throwing kicks and screaming and punching, and it was something like I'd never seen before. So back then, I still have a few of my toys from then. I have my original card set, my 44 card set.
Okay.
I have my original stickers.
Wow.
And I have my original Corgi car.
Oh, you do?
And the way that happened was I went away through boot camp because I was in the Marines for 23 years.
Okay.
And I left, and there was one small box of toys that my mother didn't throw out. She threw out everything else, G.I. Joe's, everything. But those few things wound up surviving, which I still have in my collection today. So that was my initial beginning.
Okay, so you started with the Green Hornet, 1966, and you had the original Green Hornet memorabilia that came out at that time.
Yeah, well, it was just the cards, and the stickers.
Those are the best ones.
That's all that survived.
Yeah, that's what I have in my collection, and those are some of my favorite, those 3 that you mentioned.
And then we'll fast forward now to 1972-73 time frame. I was growing up in Brooklyn, New York, very poor. I lived in the ghetto of Bed-Stuyvesant, East New York.
Got ya.
Didn't have a whole lot of money, maybe $5-6 a week, allowance, being at that age. And I used to take and go to the movies and see all the movies at that time.
Now I have to ask you, what movie theaters did you go to? Because I grew up in Manhattan.
I really don't remember.
You
I used
don't
to
remember?
go to Manhattan.
Okay.
There was one at the beginning of Manhattan had 2 stories or something.
Okay.
Or it was a local theater.
Yeah.
I really don't remember back that far. But what I do remember is right at the age of 13, we moved to New Jersey, Perth Amboy, New Jersey. I was sitting playing in the park across the street. My mother howls down from the 6th floor window, John, the guy that plays Kung Fu just died. And I was like, good. I don't care. I don't like that guy anyway. And that was David Carradine.
Yeah, you were thinking of David Carradine.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. But it was actually Bruce Lee. When I got back in the house and I looked at the newspaper, you know what I mean? I was like, no way, could it be Bruce Lee? Now, there, they used to have a movie theater, and they used to show the movies for like $1.50.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to go every Saturday. I spent my allowance going to the movies.
Same here.
And that's when I actually became engrossed with Bruce Lee, because at that time, if you remember back in the 70s, when you went to the movie theater, people got into the movie. The characters jumped off the screen. So when Bruce Lee was actually on the screen, people were screaming, yelling,
cheering.
Yeah, they were screaming, yelling, cheering. They were smoking in the movie theater. They were drinking beer. And the movie was a fun experience.
Yeah,
and I was a kid, though, still. But it still was engrossing to see this larger-than-life figure come off the screen.
And what was the first movie you saw? Was it Fist of Fury? Was it Enter the Dragon?
The Big Boss.
The Big Boss. So it was. That's when I saw it. So you were what, about 12, 11? What were you?
I was 13.
13.
12, 13.
Yeah, that's what I was when I saw The Big Boss.
When I
That was
first
my
saw it.
first one, yeah.
There have been superheroes, supervillains, and super movies, but there has never been anything like karate and kung fu. And Bruce Lee, he's the man with the fists of fury.
Of course, back in that time frame when the Kung Fu movies started coming out, like Five Fingers of Death.
Yeah.
You know, we would all as kids go downstairs. They had a downstairs bathroom. We'd be in there Kung Fu fighting each other, you know.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun because, you know, you go down the street when you come out of the theater and you still be fighting. But,
So you saw, right, that was the first movie that hit the United States, Five Fingers of Death, right? And I remember hearing people say, hey, wait, there's these kung fu movies that are going to come to
light up.
Manhattan soon. You're not going to believe your eyes what you're going to see. And, you know, I liked it, and it was like nothing I've ever seen. And
that genre alone, I mean, it just got you pumped up.
And then I think, was the second one Lady Kung Fu? Was it, right?
Yeah.
And then the Bruce Lee movie hit the screen. Yeah, Angela Mao. So I saw those first two, and I thought they were good. But there was something about when I saw Fist of Fury, because that's what it was called when it came to the United States. It wasn't The Big Boss, right?
Right.
I saw it as Fist of Fury. There was something about Bruce, though, that just was captivating. When I first saw him and the charisma, I mean,
he had that aura, that charisma around him that he jumped off the screen. It wasn't your typical fight for 2 hours,
right?
You know, and then I mean, his fights were short, but they were sweet.
Oh man,
you know, you just got into him right away.
And that's what he wanted, right? He wanted to kind of represent realistic fights.
And they look realistic
and that's what was so special about it, because the other ones kind of look set up, and they were just kind of flying around, and their hands were just moving robotically.
And I think that's why Bruce mastered the art of the camera. He knew how to place that camera to get the most effect out of it.
Yeah, that's why you used to see all those back footage things, right? He, besides practicing with his first generation students, the real reason he was doing that is because he knew
those camera angles right.
Right, he wanted to get the camera angles, and he knew in his heart that he had the desire to be a superstar, right? And he was setting all that up along the way when you see him practicing with Ted Wong, and he's doing the back hook and getting the camera. Because now when he had the opportunity, right, he was ready for it.
I mean, Bruce was a smart guy. He surrounded himself, when you go back to look at his students, he surrounded himself with not only people that would benefit him in the long run, but people that would make him create his own art.
Exactly.
And make him better. You know, he got judo guys and guys that were, you know, well-known karate techers and stuff like that. And they were able also to inspire him to change his systems and make him better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he used a lot of these guys as punching dummies, you know, in of his exhibitions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
So Big Boss was your first one.
Right. Then Fist of Fury came out.
And then Fist of Fury.
And that did it for me. That's like my all-time favorite. That did it for me.
Is that your favorite film?
Oh, yeah.
It is.
The fury, the anger that he portrays in that film is just incredible. I mean, he just jumps off the screen, you know.
Yes, it's amazing the emotions that he shows on screen.
Very emotional.
And also the facial expressions. If you really look at the detail of Bruce, I mean, people say, oh, he was an okay actor. But to come across with those kind of emotions and anger and fury and it looks so unbelievable and at the time and charismatic, and it was electrifying.
It was.
I mean, who expresses themselves that way on film?
And that's what sealed it for me. Once I saw Fist of Fury, I started venturing out to Chinatown and saying, you know, let me see if there's any posters to put on the wall. And then, of course, the Kung Fu Monthlies started coming out at that time and stuff like that. So as that stuff started coming out, I started buying it, you know. And, you know, plastering my walls and and stuff like that. You know, didn't really know the value of the magazines back then. You know, I started scrapbooks, which I still have in my closet there.
Do you remember the first collectible besides the Green Hornet ones, which you had in '66? After you saw the Bruce Lee movies, do you remember the first collectible or second that you picked up on the stands at that time?
I do not. I do not remember what was the first one.
Well, in your collection, it would be rather hard to figure that out, because if you see John's rooms here and closets and trunks, there's literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of magazines, books, flyers that I've ever seen in my life. So I could see why that's difficult. Mine was, first magazine I ever bought was Fighting Stars. I remember it like it was yesterday.
I have that whole collection.
Yeah, when I saw Fighting Star #1 with him and Bob Wall on the cover, and I was 13 years, and you open up the pinup, I got blown away. And then every week I was going back and I would buy every issue.
Yep.
And so my collection, and yours probably too, I bought every one off the newsstand.
I did, whether he was on the cover or not, because they always mentioned his fighting methods or
inside
skill or something.
And I would read it cover to cover, every one that came out.
And I still have them. As yellow as they are, I still have those.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Wow,
that's off the newsstands.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. So you were picking your stuff up off the newsstands as well, like
we were
myself.
bumping elbows. I'm telling you, back in the '70s, we were bumping elbows in Chinatown at the newsstands. We were bumping elbows, absolutely.
Yeah, we had to
Hector
be.
Martinez, Richard Torres. We were out there combing the places, trying to find memorabilia.
Yeah, it's so funny that
and at that time, it was just basically paper.
Yeah.
Paper. Magazines, posters, things like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing like nowadays. You have all these great figures. Lunch boxes. I mean, you name it, they've come out with stamps.
Yeah.
It's endless.
The most intricate thing they had back then, and I saw it in the other room upstairs. Remember the Bruce Lee punching puppets? I got those from Chinatown. I noticed it in the other room.
I have one from China and one from Taiwan, and they're both a little bit different. They're supposed to be the same, they're both a little different.
Yeah, but you're right. It was mostly paper, a T-shirt here or there, some of the plastic nunchucks, right? But a lot of interesting magazines.
You know, to go back on your point, if I had to guess what one of my first physical figures was, it was probably that punching puppet.
It was, right?
I was going down Chinatown, and it was one of them little Chinese shops, and that puppet was sitting in the window like it had fell off a display or something, and it was just sitting in the corner there where it was just wedged, and the sun was just beaming on it, and it kind of discolored it a little bit. It's the one I have upstairs. And I went inside all excited, you know, and the lady didn't want to go into that big window to try to move everything around to get to me. And I was sitting there, you know, just, please, you know, can I puppet? I want. And she finally sold it to me. And I think at that time it was, what, $1.50? $2? Now you find them it's $25, $30 or more.
Yeah.
You know, they're really expensive. But yeah, that was probably my first physical
Yeah. Well, Chinatown was the place to buy things. I mean, 47 years ago, to think that we didn't know each other, but we were all scurrying Chinatown, like you said, me, you, Hector Martinez, Richard Torres.
We had that big giant mural. Right, when you entered Chinatown,
right?
Oh my God, with him kicking Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Me and Hector just did an episode in Chinatown, which you guys will see. It's
I saw some of the photos from that. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, we're gonna take the fans down a trip down memory lane, and we went to all the different newsstands, Book Tech, which had the mural of Chuck and Bruce, and it brought back a lot of good memories. And I know that's where we found a lot of our 4C's Weekly and Golden Movie News, and all the really rare vintage magazines that came out. So on that note, maybe we could start with some of the ones you picked up in Chinatown. I know there was so many magazines to choose from, but I love the vintage and I love the nostalgic. So why don't we start with the Golden Movie News, and maybe you can kind of just show some of the ones that you picked up back in the early 70s, because these are super rare, and I always love showing interesting things. And I remember when you showed me these.
Let's see. So overall, I believe it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? 4. There's 8 covers here. I believe there was 9 covers total of Bruce.
Right.
The very first one is the one I'm missing. It's the 1972 issue with him with the shades on, where he's kind of looking over his shoulder.
If any of you guys have the 1972 Golden Movie News issue, let Negron know. It's the only one he's missing of the cover issues of Golden Movie News that he needs to complete his collection. But we're going to show you the other 8, and I think you guys should really enjoy this. So what's this first one? When did this come out?
This first one is July 1974. Shows Bruce, obviously, with his hair slicked back.
Wow, that is
and
beautiful.
it looks like it was doing the off-camera shots that he did for Fist of Fury.
Yeah, it looks like from
with his hair slicked back.
Yeah,
with those promo shots.
Now, did you hear anything about why he used the slick back hair in these shots?
No.
I think I read one day that that's the look they were originally going to go with, but they found out that because his hair was so fine, it kept falling down.
falling?
And he was so, physical on screen that they could never keep his hair
slicked back.
So I think that's why you see a lot of the publicity ones with it back, because that originally I heard that's what they were going to go with, but his hair just couldn't stay.
He looked awesome with his hair slicked back.
Yeah, I thought so too. Wow, that's a rare issue, man. I love that. That's fantastic.
The next one would be an April '78 with a bearded Bruce. And I've always loved the shots.
Let's go a little bit closer here.
With Bruce with the beard. I think he looks very
beautiful.
Sophisticated and a whole different look. There was times he just wore a mustache. There was times he wore a goatee. But it looks like a couple times he was in a beard.
Yeah, I like that. I like the beard and mustache look more than just the mustache alone. I think this was a nice look. I just I had two of these.
Not a whole lot of photos out there of him in the beard.
No, there isn't. There isn't. But that's a nice one. And what's this next one?
Then it looks like an off-camera shot with him with the shades.
Yeah.
July 1977
Wow,
issue.
another rare one.
Looked like they just caught him in between something. They're talking or smiling.
43 years ago, man, you picked that one up. And most of these you got in Chinatown, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's where I got mine back in the day. And I just love the vintage.
And we got the July 1976 issue here of... looks like he's Way of the Dragon / Return of the Dragon.
Yeah, it does look that way.
Because of the haircut and the outfit he's wearing. So pretty much that's Return of the Dragon there.
Yeah, now I noticed that in these magazines, I mainly got mine for the covers, but there is some beautiful spreads.
There's a lot of stuff inside of them.
Yeah.
Even the ones, I have a lot of issues that don't have him on the cover.
Yeah.
As you saw, I got a big stack of Golden Movie News.
Yeah.
And they covered all the Kung Fu stars and things like that, but they also had a lot of coverage on Bruce too, even the early issues.
Yeah, and there was usually a couple of color pictures, and then usually they have a fold out, right? And then a lot of nice black and whites.
And I've framed a lot of those.
Yeah, same here. Maybe we'll open one of them up in a minute when we go through these. Sure. But that's a nice one too, with the lay around his neck. I love that one.
That's a nice one. I understand that he visited Hawaii. I don't know. I haven't seen a whole lot of footage or
me neither.
Photos or whatever, but I understand he visited Hawaii.
Oh, that might be the inspiration for this.
Happy moment there.
Yeah, I know. Look at him. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite shots. I've got this in all kind of. This one's June 1973, a month before he passed.
Wow.
So in actuality, if they make the magazine a month before, it's actually probably May. Of '73.
So that's pre-death.
Right. So and this is an Enter the Dragon shot, as you can tell by the hair, the suit that he was wearing.
Yeah, I love this magazine. I have this one in my collection also. June 1973, and I'm gonna hold this one because I'd like to just open this one with you in a minute. Sure. And we'll thumb through. What's the next one? This is a pre-death as well, or no?
This is a January 1973 annual special.
Oh, man.
And they use this cover twice, as you'll see the next issue.
That's another nice one.
That's another nice one.
I don't have that one. I sold that one years and years and years ago. That was a beautiful one.
And again, it looks like around the time when he was doing Enter the Dragon, because his hair's a little bit longer there.
Man, beautiful.
Yeah.
This is gorgeous.
And then, like I was saying, they used that cover again.
Yeah, look at that.
In August of '73, which would have made it what?
A month after he passed away.
And this particular issue is very special to me. This one belonged to Norman Vereen, the godfather of collecting, that's known to all of our old school collectors.
Yeah.
Myself, Richard Torres, Hector Martinez, Rosetta Stokes. All of us followed Norman Vereen. He was our inspiration.
He had the shop, right, in California?
Yes, sir. He had the shop and the museum.
The Bruce Lee Museum.
Yes, sir.
He was the first one to come out with the Bruce Lee shop.
And he gave me some pieces from his museum, which I showed you earlier.
Those
he gave
are
me
amazing,
a lot of
man.
rare items, which I still cherish. They have letters, postcards. I used to get phone calls from him every week, and he was like talking to God, honestly, not to put it in that sense, but because to me, he was the closest thing I could get to actually knowing who Bruce Lee was, and he was the biggest collector at that time of memorabilia. And he knew the family, the students, everybody.
They would all come to his museum, and they would do
make trips around the world with the memorabilia.
Yeah, and Linda Lee at the time donated a lot of the original nunchucks, slippers,
his
gloves.
Shoes. Everything.
I heard he had the original Game of Death suit in his museum for a while, and
he gave me one of his Game of Death suits.
We have to show that later because that's a mystery, man. I love that.
Norman would just out of the clear blue sky just send me packages of stuff. He sent me the suit one time. He sent me plaques. He would send me a script I have around there of Enter the Dragon. He would just send me things. We were real good friends. I've never met the man in person, but great guy to talk to on the phone.
Yeah, no, he was amazing. So let's open one of these.
Well, while you open that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about this issue.
Because that's beautiful.
This issue, although it looks a little beat up, and I will talk about that too. A lot of people will not buy an item in their collection if it's worn a little bit or if it's showing age. I'm not that type of collector. I collect because of him, the man. Okay, I don't collect because it has to be in mint condition or anything like that. If it's in very decent condition, where, I mean, if the cover's falling off and got burn holes and all that,
Yeah.
of course not. But I want to get it in halfway decent condition and cherish it until maybe I come across a better copy. If not, I'm fine with that, because I don't buy anything to resell. Although I've sold a lot of doubles, I don't buy stuff to resell. So I don't care about the condition so much. I don't get wrapped around that. But like I was saying, the condition of this is a little worn. But this actually hung in Norman's museum.
Wow.
And the way you know is it had pinholes in the corners.
Look at that.
And he used to pin all his magazines up. And that's where it originally came out, where if you've seen several people, collectors, that pin all their magazines on the walls, it came originally from Norman Vereen doing that.
Because we saw how he displayed it back in the day, right?
Awesome.
Everyone wanted to copy that. So
And that's the way he did it. I mean, now we have better ways to do that, which I'm going to do one of these days also. But back then, that's what he did. He put a pinhole right through, and I've had many magazines that he gave me that have the pinholes in the corners.
Well, that's amazing, John. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's a nice story behind that issue. Hey, why don't you flip through this one? Let's just see what this looks like if we open it up, because I know there's a lot of nice colors on here.
There's a full. There's Angela Mile here.
Yeah.
First page. There's Angela
Look
Mile.
at her. Look how young, man.
Well, back in about 73.
Yep.
Yep.
Look at that.
Because we know she was what, in her maybe 20s back then?
Is that a full spread of her?
No, this is someone else. This is another actress.
That's another actress. Okay.
It's another actress.
There's Nora Mao.
Yeah.
These were all the actresses, a lot of the actresses that Bruce played with back then, right?
Yep.
And then usually they start out with these.
There's Jimmy Wang Yu. How young he was there.
Actors and actresses, and then usually
the
come
one-armed
across
swordsman,
the
right?
one-armed swordsman.
Another
Man, this is very vintage. And then it comes to some Bruce Lee.
There's Bruce Enter the Dragon, and it
let's
folds
see if
out.
there's. Oh, look at that!
is.
That is beauty.
And they were probably, I would figure, in June of '73, preparing for the premiere of Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, because this is pre-death. Look at that!
Yeah.
Look at that! Look at those shots of Bruce in the mirror
back
room.
then, let me tell you, the excitement we had looking at these shots, they may be a little common now, but back then they weren't common.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful spread, and that's what I love about these magazines. They all have.
There's Maria Yi.
Oh yeah, look at that. And then it usually goes into some black and white pictures of Bruce,
And
right?
there should be a section. Let's see if we can find a section here, where they maybe go a little bit more in depth with Enter the Dragon here.
Yeah, they usually have a little bit of a feature, right?
Oh, look who's here. You got June Rhee.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, one of Bruce's really good
there's
friends.
Angela Mao, so I would say that's When Taekwondo Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's probably the one. Yep.
So it doesn't look like it has anything else on Bruce.
Yeah, no, sometimes they'll just feature the color issues.
It was just the color.
Yeah.
Showing that, so there's nothing else actually in there.
Yeah, but this is a beautiful issue. I love pre-death. So again, this is June 1973, and the reason I wanted John to feature,
cover.
Isn't that amazing?
Cover. I love that cover.
Wow. Feature the Golden Movie News is because these are very vintage. They're very historic. It's really, they came out at the time Bruce was either still alive or just passed away, and I know a lot of collectors look for these vintage magazines. So I wanted to thank you guys for joining John and I as we take you through memory lane on these Golden Movie news magazines. And we're going to be doing a lot of episodes together. And the next episode we're going to do shortly is one that's going to be featuring some new martial hero magazines, which are also, those came out in Chinatown as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And are very, very rare. I have about 8, 9 that I picked up in Chinatown. But when John started thumbing through his new martial hero magazines, there's so many in there that I have never even seen, and the covers are just beautiful that we're going to share with you guys in a second. So until next time, Charles Damiano with John Negron signing out on this episode, saying have fun collecting, guys. Thank you for joining us today.